This is the Startup Social Podcast, your inside look at the awesome startup world. We get real with local founders and business owners who share their toughest challenges and biggest wins.
All right, this is Daniel Griggs with Startup Social Podcast. Is it Startup Social?
Were you going to say my name?
No, I was about to say it wrong. I was about to say Social Startup, but it's Startup Social Podcast. So, I mean...
We always mix it up.
I always mess the name up. But
Startup Social.
Yeah, there you go. Startup Social Podcast. So, of course, we interview Austin area entrepreneurs, but realized that never actually gave my story for ATX Web Designs. This one shouldn't last this long. I'll get in depth with it, but not extremely in depth. So I kind of start from the beginning, which was I had no type of experience with web development, web design, or anything like that. So I started the company when I was coming out of football. I'm a sports person, meaning I've been playing sports majority of my life. So when I got done playing football, I was really trying to figure out exactly what I want to do, in life. My mentor told me, "Now you got to figure out what you want to do when you grow up." And so that's what I had to do. I was like 25 years old, 26, something like that. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. At the moment in time, I was doing personal training. I was trying to have an apparel company. No idea why I tried that. And I was doing web design. Yeah.
I didn't know.
I had an apparel company called Electro Performance. Lauren laughing at me. It was called Electro Performance. Leektro Performance. And it was basically kind of based off of like Nike and Adidas in a way. And it was just basic stuff. It was kind of trying to turn it into like more of a movement kind of thing. Like we was talking about the other day, Rob. But I was just trying to start like more of a movement. But it was a stupid, I don't want to say it was a stupid idea, but it was something I shouldn't have got into. But anyway.
Trial and error.
I know, trial and error. It was a lot of error with that one. But I was doing web design. Now, I didn't know how to develop websites. When I was playing football, I started up like an athletic performance company, and I was with a couple other guys, and I built out the website, and it had a really good impact on being able to get clients and stuff. And so I liked that part of it. So as I was doing football, I had a roommate, Antonio Brown, when I was playing in New Orleans, and he had a nonprofit, has a great story. And so I started helping build out the website and the logo and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed the process of it. So that's how I got into web design. And as I was trying to figure out what I want to do as a grown man, I started to get more into web design. And my mentor, who's mentoring me, he was just telling me like I'm going to have to choose between doing personal and athletic training and doing and building websites. And so I went the website route, and I really went the website route because he told me you need to base it on the lifestyle you want to live. This wasn't like a financial type thing because I was making more money doing personal training, but he was saying, he just gave an example of him. For me, with personal training, you have to be there to make your money. For a while, you have to be there to make your money. Now, you can transition out, get trainers, etc., but you have to be there. For me, even at that time, I had a family. I wanted to be I won't say I wanted to be at home, but I wanted to have the flexibility to like take my wife to lunch, pick my kids up from school, take them to school, even though they drive me crazy as hell in the morning. But I wanted to be able to do it. And so that's why I got into web design. And I started to figure things out when I got into it. As of course, I didn't know how to develop anything. So I was literally building websites out on Wix.com, like drag and drop sites. I was doing these drag and drop sites. I was pitching really small brick and mortar mom and pop type companies that could afford, the few $100s that I was charging. And then I was really pitching them on the business side of things, meaning I wasn't saying just like you need a better website than what you have, but if you have a better website with the traffic that you're getting, even though it's direct referrals, it's going to have a huge impact versus competitors. So I was making cold call lists. Now, here's the interesting thing. So my mentor told me something as well, which kind of stuck with me really close. And he said, running a business is no different than sports. The way that you work, the hours that you put in, the time and effort. And so that really stuck with me. And so I started doing a lot of things like my sports career. When I played pro football, first off, I came from a really small college. We didn't win a single game my senior year, and I was an absolute nobody. So throughout the whole process, what I was doing was like cold calling and cold emailing NFL teams. Literally, every single team in the NFL got a phone call or email from me. My agent at the time was just like full of bull, so he wasn't getting me anything. And so I structured up an email. I had like stats in it. I had filming and everything. And I was literally doing email marketing and not even realizing it because I didn't understand. Like, I wasn't thinking about business at the time. I was just like, trying to make my dream a reality. And that's what actually got me the opportunity to get workouts and stuff to be in the NFL. Even when I played arena football, every team that I was on, it was based on me reaching out personally and really putting myself in a position. And so when I got to building out ATX Web Designs, I didn't know anything about social media marketing. First off, I didn't have much money at all. So I started with $9.90, which is what it cost me to keep up my Wix.com website, my little drag and drop website. And so every dime that I got, I was reinvesting back in the company and trying to pay bills. And so I didn't understand marketing, like digital marketing. And so I was cold calling. I went to the Chamber of Commerce. I looked up every single business on the Chamber of Commerce. I wrote them down on a pen and pad. I know y'all see me a lot now on my phone all the time putting notes, but this time I had a pen and pad. I wrote down all these businesses. I visited every single website. I tried to find out who the decision maker was, and I cold called them. I would create this list on Sunday, on Mondays, really Monday and Tuesday. Mondays and Tuesdays, I would bust out my cold call list. And I would call up all of these places, and I would set appointments for Wednesdays and Thursdays. At this time, as I mentioned, I really needed the money. So when I had a meeting with someone, I would create them a mock-up. But the mock-up was really like a website because I would drag and drop a Wix homepage layout for these little small companies. That's the only thing that really, like, they had to see a visual. They didn't really understand it when you told them verbally. They had to see a visual. So I would create these. And when I met with them, I presented to them. And majority of the time, it's what like helped me close the deal like that. And so I started that way. At the time, I was trying to learn how to develop, specifically WordPress, which is very difficult. I mean, I went to YouTube University to learn how to do it all. So I was learning all this stuff on YouTube, but I'm a very speed guy, which y'all know. I love speed. And so I was like, I don't have time to learn this. I'm not trying to be an expert in WordPress. I'm trying to be an expert at running a business. So as I was learning it, I contracted out 5 developers. And out of those 5 developers that I met and contracted out, it was one who is our head developer now, who stuck the most. And interesting enough, he was working a job on the side of an IT company. And he wanted to get away from that job and do full-time development. So it worked out really well because it was like, both of us had skin in the game. Both of us really wanted to take our skill levels and just our ideas and turn it into reality. So this was in 2015, contracted him out. He's our head developer now still. And we're doing like a few projects towards the end of the year. I joined the BNI group, Business Networking International, I think it stands for, which helped me out a lot to get a lot more clients, very referral based, direct connections, but it worked really well. And it took me from doing a few projects, like 1 project a month, WordPress based, to getting about 2 or 3. That allowed me to actually shift him from that IT company he was working for and be a full-time developer for me. And really things just grew from there. I mean, that's from 15, we're in 2019 now, and there's a lot of things that shifted. I went from a one-man team, just me, doing drag and drop sites, to testing out 5 developers, going along with the main developer, the guy that was the best. Not only the best skill-wise, but the best, like, gave effort, his communication and everything else. I was thinking long-term, which I always think long-term. So whoever it was that I chose, I had already told him, like, I'm going to want to work with you long-term. But transitioning and going from drag and drop sites to building out sites on WordPress to building out custom sites and learning. There's some people specifically that, from a business standpoint, that helped me out. One of them, which I'll give him a shout out, he's competition, but he's a good friend of mine as well, which is Digitech Web Design Austin, which is right here in Austin. And so my mentor, Tim, he's real estate business, but he told me, which he always would give us sports records because he knew this was my background. He said, when you decided you wanted to go play in the NFL, what was one of the first things you did? And it was like, I talked to somebody that I knew that played, or people that actually tried to get to that level. He was like, you need to do the same thing in business. I was like, I don't know anybody to do no damn websites. I don't even know anything about it. He was like, Google. And so I did. I looked it up. It took me like 2 months to do it. And he would stay on me like, have you made the phone call? And so I finally did it, which is great because that phone call took me from 17,000 to 117,000. So the first year I did business, I made $17,000. The second year was $117,000. And honestly, a large portion of that was because of that phone call I made. And it was a blessing because Daryl, I called him up. At first I acted like I was a customer. And I was asking about the business and how he does websites, etc. And then I was like, look, man, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm a freelance web designer. I'm actually trying to create a company. And I said, I'd love to hear your story. I didn't make it about me. I didn't say I want to know X, Y, and Z. Honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to know. I was just like, I want to hear your story. I really need to hear that somebody else went through some kind of phase to get to the point to where they are. And it was great because when he started his company, he knew nothing about web design either. And he was just saying like how he learned. He taught me how to scout talent to get a developer. This is before I got a developer. But he taught me how to scout talent to get a developer. Told me about WordPress, et cetera, et cetera. And I took that. We were supposed to meet for only like an hour, but we ended up meeting for like 2, almost 3 hours. And he just openly and freely dumped information on me. He just dumped a whole bunch of knowledge on me. It escalated my business really fast. And it was, I wasn't a competitor then. I am a competitor now. And it's funny because he was ranked on the first page of Google results. And then that next year, I started to do more with SEO. My mentor, Tim, taught me how to do SEO initially. And then I started to dive a lot more into it. And so he taught me how to do SEO. Then I started teaching myself how to do SEO. And I was like, I got to get ranked on the first page of Google results for Austin. And that's really what kind of made us competitors because he was already at the top. So now it's like me and him and a few other people. But reaching out to someone, which is like, I'm not the type of person that feels that I know it all or I can do it all on my own. I reach out to other people and like people that have a skill set level that can help me out. So there was a huge part transitioning from 2015 to 2016. And then just from then, it was a lot of growing pains, but positive things, such as getting in more clients, projects falling into our laps that I wanted to do, that we had the skill set for, but we never done before, critiquing processes. When you're developing out a website, I know the people that get the websites developed and designed, they just see it. They don't understand everything that goes on the back end of it and the process and the structure. And I'm a systems person, so I started reading more, right? I've never been illiterate and I can read very well, but I am I hate to put it on myself because I don't think it's a negative thing, but I'm very ADHD, like I can read an entire book and I won't even process all the stuff that I read and I can read straight through it. So for me, I had to start reading, right? There's so much knowledge in books that I didn't really realize. Even when I was in college, when I studied, I didn't read. Like, if this is the book, I scan down the middle. Because the way my brain works, I'll have to, and anybody that has like any type of ADHD or something like that, I will read a sentence 12 times. Because I won't
understand what it says.
Yeah, I won't process anything. It could be a simple sentence, but I won't process anything. And so I had to figure myself out. Like I had to figure out how I can read and process the information. The funniest thing is that I typically like it quiet, but if it's quiet, I hear everything. I could be in my house reading and I can hear a crack or ice falling in an ice maker, the ice box or something, and it just distracts me. So I came across, actually Daryl, I visited his office. So I walk in and his designer is playing like this epic music. It's called epic music. Kind of like, if you ever seen a movie 300, kind of like music like that. And he was like, dude, it helps you focus. And so I still do now. I would put that music in my ear and I would read. And I would read so fast and I would be so focused. I have no idea why or how that works, but it does. But anyway, I started reading and it was a huge part of me being able to take. It was a huge part for me actually creating a business. I felt like all the way up from 2015 to 2017, I still feel like a freelancer with people that was helping them out. That's what I felt like. I felt like I was a freelancer with people that was helping me out. I didn't feel like I had an actual business. And my goal was to have an actual business, have a team, have structure, create processes, which takes a while. But I started reading, and every time I started reading, it would give me ideas and listening to certain people on YouTube. And it shifted from me listening to certain people on YouTube and reading books about individuals and understanding how to work things in a certain way to actually studying companies, studying brands, and understand how to build a team and bring that team together and create developing roles and then turn those developing roles into actual intricate part of the company and part of the business. And it took a lot of effort, but I would say a huge thing that helps me is that I stay locked into building the company like it's a sports team. Every single person in the company, I look at and I assess and I look at the talent level, right? Effort is always a thing that I personally feel like you can't teach. You can show someone, but effort is something that you just have to be able to, I won't say you have to have it, but as a grown person, you have to have it. I'm not going to teach anybody effort. But I like to take someone's skill level, pair with that effort, and create a system for it, or work together to create a system for it so that things can run and things can go with speed. And once you do that, like things start to come together. Even like recently, the marketing team started in, I guess it was the spring of this year. I forgot when y'all first came in. It brought like 3 or 4 people. There was like 3 or 4 people in at once. And it was like, there's going to be a developing role. I mean, I never created a marketing team before, but I knew the pieces and the parts that we needed. And I also knew that I couldn't do it by myself, but I needed to be the one to at least start it, create the structure, assess the talent, and bring those things together. And now, I mean, if I don't make that leap, if I don't make that investment, then we don't have this podcast. We don't have Longhorn City Limits. We don't have any of that stuff because I understood that I couldn't do it alone. And it goes back to a sports team. Rather, I look at myself as, if say for instance it's football, rather I look at myself as a quarterback or I look at myself as the coach. Like there has to be structure and then you have to be able to assess talent. Like if you're a football fan, if you know anything about football, I'll specifically talk about the NFL. A quarterback that knows his receivers and knows his team is going to have some of the best success. And that's because I know how far I can throw the ball. I know where I need to throw the ball based on what this person can and can't do, their skill level, and then, of course, the effort that they're going to put out for it. So I look at it the exact same way. It doesn't matter what person is in the business. You have to approach people a certain way, and then you have to connect with them a certain way. So I base a lot of things off of energy. So Jessica, when she was doing before she moved and had her own business, when she did the hiring, she would assess the skill set, because I know the skill set I want, but I honestly, I just be real with myself. I don't know how to assess certain skills without just getting the experience from it. But she could. But I'm an energy person. So anybody that's on the team, I got to get a feel for your energy to make sure, for one, you're a right fit and no one will be like a cancer to the team. And then two, you got to be able to work together. You know what I mean? Like the company culture, regardless of the structure and what it'll grow to, you have to be able to work together. It doesn't mean you, like on a sports team, it doesn't mean you hang out with everybody or people outside of the office, outside of the company. But when you come together, everyone has the same goal in mind and everyone gets along. You can get irritated with you or whatever. I know I send out Slack messages and emails at all awkward times of the day. Or I may have a long base camp bill, like we need X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. But I'm open to feedback as well. Like if there's something that I'm missing or if there's something I don't have, on point, I'm open to feedback. I'm not like it's my way or the highway kind of thing. But that's part of being a team. Like I say, it doesn't matter if it's the coach, the quarterback, the general manager, whatever it may be. When you have a team, everything has to be a team effort. So throughout the process of building ATX Web Designs, there's a lot of things that go into it, a lot of things that went into it, should I say. I look at a lot of stuff now, such as I've seen a guy try to start like a graphic design company as a freelancer, and he put out a GoFundMe for like $3,000, $5,000 or something like that. Or I see some companies that want to raise money for certain things. And don't get me wrong, there's certain software companies that it's an absolute necessity. But I see a lot of people that feel like there's shortcuts and they can jump hoops. And honestly, the best thing that you can get is the experience through the process. But I just feel like from an entrepreneur perspective and from an individual perspective, you can't, even if you have the finances, there's so much things you have to work on, from structure. You have to work on processes. And then outside of all that, you got to work on yourself. I'm always working on myself. I'm always assessing myself as well. Like the last book I just read is called Ego is the Enemy. And it talked a lot about ego. I come from a sports background. And I'm going to be honest with you, if you play sports, you have got to be a confident person. It doesn't, I've seen guys that, period. It doesn't even matter if, I've seen guys that were like trash average, meaning like they were average, but they were borderline not that good. But they would play with confidence and it made them really good. And like, when I come from a sports background, I play with a lot of confidence. The thin line part of it is that you play with confidence, but you have to separate that confidence of like, exactly. Like, confident. And the biggest thing for me is understanding I'll go back to what I was talking about. Understanding I can't do it alone. Even in sports, with football, I do boxing, and when I ran track. Boxing and track specifically are labeled as very individual sports because it's you versus another man. And so, or versus another woman. And so that's what it's like when it's time to perform. But you have a coach and you have teammates all the time that make you better. That's what a lot of people don't see and what you tend to forget. So for me, the reason I actually read the book, I use Audible. And of course I got a library of books, but I was debating on what I was going to read next. And I actually wanted to read, I try to study a lot on financial literacy and stuff. It has a lot to do with building a company and structuring, understanding a lot of things that you have to do when you're trying to actually take a business to a bigger level, from lines of credit, the proper loans to take out, how you move your money, bookkeeping, CPAs, all that stuff. But I wanted to read Ego is the Enemy. The reason I wanted to read is because, I'm not tooting the horn, but ATX has a lot of things going on. You know what I mean? I'm the type of person, I don't feel like standing out, as y'all always say. I don't want to be above the brand, but I get a lot of attention. I'm just going to be real. I mean, we're all human beings. And if anybody gets a lot of attention, especially with things that you do, then you start to feel like it's you.
You can go to your head.
Yeah, like our client Box Technologies. They asked me to come in, and typically if a client asks to speak with me or come in, especially during a project, I'm like, oh shit, what happened? But they were like, no, we want to come in, we love the project, blah, blah. So I come in and they got like a big cake. And it's like, thanks to ATX Web Designs and blah, 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 blah. But I have to immediately sing praises to the team because I closed on a project and the structure, like I'm not on projects like that in the day-to-day operations. So our project managers and our development team and designers handle it. I brought the structure and stuff up like a while back, and we continue to critique it and make it better. But they're singing praises to me. But I always have to understand, like, I won't say stay level-headed, but understanding that it's not just me. They see me as the owner and leader of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I'm the first one that they want to approach or come to, right? So like, say for instance, Rob, at the LCL the other day, it was actually Box, and one of them came and there was like asking for, for Daniel, which
he actually came out to talk to us to reconfirm how happy he was to establish that relationship.
Yeah, which I like, I like that, which I try to give all kudos per se to the team. But a part of that is, like going back to why I read the book, Ego is the Enemy, or listened to the audible part of it. It makes you understand and makes you stay like leveled. Never too high, never too low. But you still have to have confidence. I feel confidence is one of the biggest things as human beings. If there's anything you do, if you approach it with confidence, even if you make mistakes, it's one of the biggest things. It is one of the best things or skills or asset, whatever you want to call it, that you can have. You know what I mean? Like, I'll give you kind of like a lower level example. My son, he was, I'm not going to say he's dyslexic, but they thought he was at school. I think he was at school because he does that, read some words backwards, etc. So I was going through reading with him. And he kind of has the same problems that I'll have, which he'll start reading and he can be reading, but his mind is everywhere else. So I had to challenge him and put him on a timer and say, we'll see how fast you can read. And so he did. And so as he was reading, I said, words that you come by that you have to like do too long to sound out, just say whatever you think it is. Like try to sound it out, but then say what you think it is. We'll come back to it and we'll fix it. And I told him, I said, you got to approach it all with confidence. And it's funny, I have to give him the same analogy as I give myself, meaning he plays basketball. He's really good at basketball. And he plays basketball with confidence. Like, since he was younger, he's always played with kids that was like 2, sometimes 3 years older than him in higher leagues. And so he was always like the shortest or the smallest, but he was quick and fast. So now he's playing against kids his age. He's very confident when I get the ball. I mean, boy, jacking up shots that he can't make. And I'm like, stop doing that. But he's doing it with confidence. So I had to give him the same analogy so we can make the relation of how to approach something with confidence. So I don't want to miss the confidence part, because confidence and what's the other word? Confidence and not arrogance, but
ego.
Yeah, it's conceited. Is it conceited?
Mm-hmm.
That's more centered around like the ego part. Like there's a very thin line to approach something with confidence and know like I can do this versus approach something as if like I don't need anyone's help. I can do it all on my own. But that's a huge part why I read the book. And that part is kind of like why I feel that sitting right now with ATX as the owner, right? Still developing the company, building things up, creating more structure, but working more on Daniel, because the more people that we add in, the better leader that I have to be. And as well as understand a lot of financial parts of it, which is a huge, huge part of running a business. not just making the money, but where to put the money, how to reinvest and everything else, which is like this year in 2019, I literally took every single dime that ATX makes and dumped it right back into the business. Every single thing. So everybody that's in here, all 5 of y'all, are completely dependent on y'all. So don't fail.
No pressure.
The content, the marketing, the social media, the video, all of that.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. But having to approaching it with confidence. Like, I'm confident in everyone in your skill set. I try not to dump stuff on people that's not within your skill set. You know what I mean? I don't have Chris right here telling him to take a whole bunch of photography pictures and stuff like that. Because he can do it, but as he always puts on social media, I'm not a photographer. But just structuring all those things, man, and really that's ATX. How it began, where we are now. I always use the word we, but where we are now, and then moving forward. I'll say this, and I am saying it with confidence, maybe a little bit of arrogance, but we will be the biggest, I'll put it like this, we will be the best and most known in Austin when it comes to web design, mobile app, and digital
On your
marketing.
shirt.
Exactly.
The best web design company
The best. Ever.
See it here.
That is confidence.
It is. It's a lot of confidence, right? I don't care where everyone else is right now, what's going on right now, but the moves we're making and the things that we're doing and what we're really pushing in the Austin area, we already know we are. Y'all don't see it yet. So a lot of people do, not everybody, but you will. So it's ATX right now. Any questions that I can answer? I don't know if you think about.
I mean, I don't know what's next? What's any upcoming projects or anything? Goals?
I mean, next is really taking over Austin. When I say take over Austin, I mean like me and Rob always talk about omnipresence and being omnipresent, both digitally and physically. I feel that the physical presence is a bigger impact than the digital presence. I feel like the digital presence is like it's the follow-up part of it. The physical presence of it is when I was talking about, I study a lot of brands, and the huge brands, and these are like billion-dollar brands, but I'm talking about Coca-Cola, HEB, AT&T. I mean, when I go to, of course, there's AT&T Stadium, the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. They release different products. Like, we have products and stuff that we release that we haven't put to the public yet, but they have different products that they release inside the stadium. I went to the Cotton Bowl with the Texas versus OU, and I seen AT&T all over the place. At the Texas games, inside the stadium, there's AT&T. And then of course there's stuff online as well. So they have that omnipresent thing. I mean, the deal is that it costs money. I mean, we're just gonna be real about it. It costs money. But one thing that I don't really follow him as much. I follow him on social media, but I don't study him as much anymore regularly. But Gary Vaynerchuk, he posted something that I actually screenshot and kept, and he said that to actually create a brand is going to be a big investment. But when you do it, the ROI on it is going to be even bigger. But it's a long-term game. Like, you can't invest hundreds of thousands of dollars and expect to receive that back in a month, right? This isn't a Facebook ad. It's not a YouTube ad. Like, it's not some kind of digital ad. It's a very strategic move to position yourself in the future, talking about 6, 12 months from that moment, and so forth and so on, to where it puts you in a position. It's like, for visual for me, when someone comes to Austin, you have anything to do with business, there's no reason that you cannot hear about ATX Web Designs. Rather it be a billboard, rather you go to a sports event, hell, you may go to a music concert.
So would you say that if you're thinking in terms of a house, you have to build the foundation, the structure, the ceiling. Would you say that you're laying the groundwork for the foundation of ATX starting here in Austin before you move on to the structure?
Yeah, I would say right now the foundation is 90%, maybe 95% there. Like, even if we don't even do a lot of the stuff that we have going on right now with the branding, it can still be well off. But that's not me. I'm a very big goal, big vision kind of person. So the foundation is there, because if the foundation wasn't there, then we wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah. And then some things, honestly, man, some things just fall in place. I mean, when we were approached, I actually reached out to the University of Texas about potential sponsorship of being presenting sponsor. Then they got back to me. But during that process was when I was bringing on the developing role for the marketing team. And then when we actually moved forward with the process, that's when Rob came on. So honestly, I just feel like there's always some kind of divine intervention to where when you just continue to do stuff and you have that vision, you're working towards it, things just start to fall into place. And the pieces that you need, they just come to. And you're still figuring things out, but like I said, you're figuring things out as a team versus trying to figure things out as an individual. Because I got hundreds of things going on in my mind at once. And so I'm not going to be able to, there's only certain things that I want to really focus my attention on. The rest of those things, I want to give it the attention that it needs and then pass it on to someone that has the expertise to be able to take that and give it a lot more attention. So I would say from a house standpoint, the foundation is there. I feel like you always, just like a home, I think it's every 10 years or whatever it may be, you always check to make sure the foundation is strong. So I'm always making sure the foundation is solid. But I would say right now the house is built and the framework is up. We're just like putting on a brick now. And now we're starting to see things like the structure actually come to.
And one more question tapping into that. Most businesses in America, on statistics, What am I about to ask? What audio interruption? Good that this is not live.
Recruited in the mic.
Yeah, we can jump back in.
He said he heard something. I said, damn, recruited.
I wanted to ask, since the foundation is there, and on average, most businesses in America, they go out of business after 3 or maximum 5 years.
Yeah.
So if the foundation is here and you're meeting the 5-year mark, when is the time to scale? What are the indicators to scale?
I feel, we're good to go?
Yeah.
I feel that the scaling part is a decision. Majority of people don't want to scale because they're scared of the risk.
Yeah.
Or I'll put it like this, they fear the risk. Like, you can be scared, but when you fear, it's a different reaction. I think that's one thing. I made the decision to begin scaling because I have a bigger vision. And I can't get to that vision without taking a risk. All right, an educated risk and something that's going to make sense, but it's still a risk. That's one thing. The next thing is that a lot of people try to scale, but they don't get the knowledge to know how to scale, right? They take the risk and they do everything, but they don't gain the knowledge. Meaning, if I gave myself for an example, right? I build up the marketing team, I add more project managers, I add more developers. Now, these things are structured based on not just goals, but things that are happening right now. I can't have a marketing team unless we continue to get on more web design projects for the moment. So then I can take that, invest in a marketing team, everything that we do with the marketing, we take everything that we create and it begins to make money on its own. But I educate myself. I never approach anything as if like, oh, I know what to do. I got it. I educate myself. That's what I was talking about. I mean, the ego book outside of that, like the personal development stuff, the financial literacy part, understanding how to do that, understanding like this is all that you can pay, understanding that this is all you can do. And that's something that's ongoing because like, I mean, myself and majority of people in America don't have financial literacy. And it's not tough to understand, but you have to go out there and you have to find the information.
Yeah.
You got to read.
We've been taught the wrong things.
Exactly. We definitely. I don't know how it is because I know you're originally from the Netherlands, right? I don't know how it is there. I know y'all's colleges are a lot cheaper than ours, but for America, you're not taught financial literacy, and so whether you building a business, rather you work a 9 to 5, it doesn't matter your position. You're not taught that, and so that's one thing that honestly I study on the most. Right, my vision also as well is to be out of WeWork. I mean, I don't mean to knock down on WeWork, but I want to be out of WeWork to where we have our own building. But the own building, like there's a structure that we have to have for it. So we don't have to book a conference room. We got our own conference room. Like I'm being very transparent with the goals that we have and the things that we're doing right now to like, I won't say make up for it, but to just adjust. But our own conference rooms, our own media rooms, our own podcast rooms. These are things that are necessities that we need, especially while we're scaling. But with that, it's like, okay, do I go buy my own building? Do I go rent out a building? If I buy my own building, it has a lot to do with taxes. It has a lot to do with, I may buy something and it's a POS, piece of shit. But at the same time, Emily always says amazing. But at the same time, it can give me the flexibility to dump more into it and build this thing out like to how we need it to be and how we want it. Or maybe there's levels to it.
And who does ATX consult with when it's time to buy a building?
For me, I use resources. Honestly, I'll kind of give a shout out right now. I'm saying this, and I have it on my list to email her today. But Jennifer with Amazing Realty, she's extremely knowledgeable when it comes to
which is actually a client.
Which is actually a client of ours. She's someone that I'm going to reach out to because I know her from the perspective of I know a lot of moves she's made and the things that she's done. Also, I mean, these are things that are like, I have specific people I go to. My mentor, he's in the real estate industry, so I'll get knowledge from him. My wife, even though it's a residential side, my wife has always handled everything when it came to like loans, money. If it wasn't for my wife, it's a lot of things at ATX I wouldn't have been able to do. My credit score is like almost 730 or something like that. When I met my wife, it was like 5 something, low fives or whatever. And so she created the structure and was like, we're going to start paying on this because I was bad with like keeping up with paying bills and stuff. But, little did I know, everything that she did then, the structure Us for Life actually had a ton to do with business. So things like that. And then my brother, he's actually very knowledgeable with knowing how to build the credit, continue to build your credit, what goes into buying commercial, how to save yourself on taxes, etc. So I do have a network of people that I could go to and approach and be like, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm trying to take the company, but I'm trying to make, strategic moves. So it's good to always have people in the corner like that. It's huge. But, everything with ATX, I gave y'all a lot of deep dive with it. I did. I gave y'all a lot of transparency.
Yeah,
I know.
I let you talk. You had a lot to say.
Let out all the secrets. Huh?
You feel better now.
I know. I got it out of my system. I told everybody about it. So now y'all can expect something from ATX too. People are gonna be coming and being like, when you gonna have the building, putting pressure on me.
Yeah, Danny, when are you gonna have the building?
I know, right?
We'll keep that for a second.
Yeah.
So
it's in the works though. But I don't know what time we at, but I'm pretty damn sure. I said there's 45. Damn, I said it's gonna take 15 minutes. But y'all started asking questions and stuff popping in my mind.
Yeah.
But this is probably one of the longest podcasts. But I did want to give everyone a deep dive and a lot of transparency with ATX, how it started, where we're at now. The show is literally based on Startup Social is really just starting the conversation. And I honestly feel like I'm always in startup mode, meaning there's always a new goal. There's always a big vision, but there's a new goal. The best way to put it, there's a next phase. And whenever you start a next phase with something, you're starting fresh at it. So my mindset and how I approach things is always that I'm in a startup mode. And it allows me to do things that I've always been doing, which is keep learning, staying level-headed, understanding that it's always a team effort. It's not just me, regardless of who people outside of our internal organization try to give praise to, and just all of that stuff. But I'm always staying in startup mode. So there's a lot of things we got going on, which is we're going to be releasing before the end of the year. And then I just gave y'all a ton of the expectations that you can expect. And this is my vision of being a reality. And now all of the team is looking forward to as well, because I don't even think I told them all this stuff. But now they heard it, so now I gotta make it. I gotta make everything come to life. We gotta make everything come to life. I see Emily over there typing away. Those fingers on that keyboard, guys, is the life of ATX. No pressure.
Writing it down.
No pressure.
I know, right? But yeah, that's Startup Social Podcast. Daniel with ATX Web Designs. Bam, say your name.
I'm Samantha Rojas.
There you go. She didn't ask a lot of questions, but I was babbling on. But it's all
You
good.
and me. I was talking too much.
I was answering all the questions before.
Babbling out, but it's fine.
But it's all good. We tune in with y'all next week. Thanks a lot.